Hello and welcome to my channel Inspiring Life Changes. My name's Colette and I'm here today to do the Piscean full moon, which has taken place in Pisces at 11 o'clock this morning, or 10:59 AM in the UK, at 17 degrees 41 minutes. So this is the tarot reading, the first part of my two-part series that I do for the full moons and new moons. I've laid the cards out on the table, and very interestingly, for a Piscean full moon there is a lot of water energy, and I'm really not surprised considering everything that's going on at this time. I will bring some astrology into the reading if I think that it's appropriate. If I think that if I feel it coming through, then I will bring that through in the reading as well. Also, all the cards that I am using have been dowsed earlier, dowsed for, should I say, and they will also be in the description box down below if you're interested in finding out more about the cards. And also there will be a link for the free natal chart for anybody who's interested in going out and finding more about themselves for their own astrology, which I always recommend because I think it's very important, particularly at this time, to know what's going on a deeper level with ourselves, relating to what's going on within the universe, or the universal energies, and how we are all being affected by them at this time. So I'm trying to pull an angel script card. There we go. Oh, that's interesting. I'm not sure if I'm going to take Michael again. Interesting though, because for me he was on the bottom of this deck of cards earlier, and I did my shuffling and he turned out on the bottom of the deck of cards again, and he's turned up again. So he obviously has a message here for us. He came out last time as well, if I remember rightly. We had Michael. He's to do with sunshine, and generally kind of staying true to ourselves as well. I might read this again actually, but the card I'm going to focus on at this time is Zadkiel, who came out underneath Michael. So let's have a look and see what Zadkiel is wanting to say to us at this time. Where are you? Zadkiel is wealth. So Zadkiel brings wealth and rewards us for our diligence. Zadkiel provides a soft place to relax, a haven of comfort. It supplies all that we need and more. After times of adversity, we are wrapped up and cosseted. If Samael is a stern parent nagging us to do better, then Zadkiel is a doting parent encouraging us forward with promises and prizes. We can feel safe and protected by Zadkiel. Even in times of danger, we can be certain that we are guided and nurtured by divine goodness. When Zadkiel is present, we know we can lie down in green pastures and that our cup will overflow. Zadkiel represents the abundance of the divine and reminds us that we are only separated from the infinite source of all gifts by self-created barriers. Zadkiel is magnanimous. When we stumble, we are picked up. When we stray from the path, we are gently drawn back. Through divine abundance, we are provided with a house and good food. We receive all the resources necessary for our journey in life. In turn, Zadkiel encourages us to open our own selves and give richly to others. We are confident in the flow of all goodness and are able to exchange love and resources. without any sense of limitation. There is no cost counting with Zadkiel. Its generosity is boundless and it asks for no return. Which is quite interesting, because at the moment, if we think about all the horrors that we're hearing when it comes to the resources that we have and how all the prices and are going to be going through the roof for our actual survival and what we're needing, it's basically saying that it's all there, it's all provided for. It's kind of like, don't buy into that belief, don't buy into that hype, don't focus your attention on that, because that's why it's put out there. It's put out there to grab our attention and put us into a sense of fear and despair and worry. And then the more we do that, the easier it is for us to just kind of give our power away to other people who are there to, or convince us that they're there to solve the problems for us. But Zadkiel is kind of saying to me that the resources and everything is already there. It's all abundant. It's all around us. Nobody can own it, because it is and always has been there. And ownership of something is something that is a recent kind of, in our history, it's something that has become much more recently, how can I put it, like not a divine right, but taken as a divine right, because I think it kind of starts with the king, who was seen as the divine owner of everything, and that kind of leads us into that, the kind of situation, shall I say, that has happened recently with the passing of the monarch, and where that's going to head to and what that's leading to as well. So that's a whole nother can of worms, which I'm not going to kind of go into or open up at this time, but it does talk very strongly about where we are as a human race. Where do we stand within all of this? And we need to, I believe, trust that this energy that Zadkiel is bringing is there for us to bring into our lives on an abundant level of source, because source is everything and never lacks for anything. Source is the all. So I'm going to quickly read a bit of Michael, which is sunshine, and he is the commander-in-chief, rules gloriously from a seat ordained directly by heaven. Sunshine is the beauty by which all things are brought to perfection and fullness. In this light there are no questions, since the task is simply one of correct and unswerving obedience to the directions of the divine. This archangel provides the stable pivot around which the others move. It is a monarch among princes, an emperor among kings. Michael's rulership permits certainty and power. All tasks will be completed without effort or anxiety. The potency here is immeasurable and allows for growth and joy. When Michael takes up the crown prescribed by heaven, then all things fall into place. It gives directions to the lowly and raises up the poor in spirit. This light enters into all dark places, enlightening the recesses of the heart. Another thing about Archangel Michael as well is that he is known as the angel of truth. He holds the sword of truth. So he brings the light, he shines the light onto the dark places of where things have been hidden, and brings the truth out into the open. And I think that's really what I want to say about that energy in particular at this time. So let me see if I can get these two to stand together somehow. Had a feeling that might happen. Think about giving it time up. Come on, Michael, don't be difficult. Thank you. So hopefully you can see those cards there, and I'd just like to point out the cards that are behind me over on this side. We have the moon, which is in the sign of Pisces, and Pisces is an energy of knowing. It's the mysterious, it's the intuitive, the sensitive, the psychic, the kind of hidden realm, the underneath, the underlying of things that kind of, it's the feeling, really the feeling realm. It's what you feel. You may not know why you feel something, but you feel something, and with Pisces it can be very powerful, intuitive knowing. And then we have the sun, which is in Virgo, so it's opposing the moon at this time, and the 12th house, which is where it's all taking place. And the 12th house is also the house of, it's known as the house of escape, but it is the house of like creativity, artists, things that are on more of a nebulous kind of energy, which is why creativity and art are seen as being kind of a mysterious qualities. And the last card at the end there, the water element, is of course the Piscean energy itself, ruled by Neptune, who is of course the god of the waters, god of the oceans. So with all that being said, I'm going to actually get into the reading here and start with the first card, which is the Three of Water. I haven't used these cards for ages. When I got these cards, I was like, like today, I was like, I haven't used you for a long time. So quite interesting, but I haven't, it has been many months actually, I think. So kind of reconnect with them. So the Three of Water, for me as an energy, is, well, it's definitely to do with emotions, because it is water. I'm trying to put it on that side then, because it's getting the glare from the light there. But here we see a mermaid, obviously a water elemental creature, and she's balancing like these three shells. She's got one on her head, she's got one down here, and then there's this other one which she hasn't quite decided whether she's going to accept it or push it away. So, but there's also this kind of feeling of heaviness of, and a lot of Three of Waters are seen as a celebratory energy. They're usually related to celebration, some like things coming together, or two people coming together, an initiation of a romance often. But then after the initial coming together, which can be very short, it's not necessarily something that lasts a long time, there is that energy, that kind of in between of like, do I stay in this? Do I move on from this? Do I put my time, my energy, my emotional self, my emotions into this? Is this the right thing for me? It's that kind of energy at this time that we're in. It's kind of a deliberation is kind of what's coming through on some level. But it's, again, it's water, so it's working on a subconscious level of how we feel about what we allow into our lives and what we don't allow into our lives. With this up here, I always think that she looks like she's burdened, like she's carrying too much, like she, on some level, the emotions of something is kind of weighing her down. There's a feeling of it being too much, but also of her kind of having to accept that or allow that. But the pearl energy as well is always interesting to me, because pearls are something that are made from something that is an irritant. If you think about it, it starts off as a grain of sand, and then the oyster covers it over and over and over, and it only does that, and it only becomes this beautiful gem because it irritates. It's an irritation. It's like there's something there that kind of digs or kind of, yeah, and it's like relationships can also be like that, or there's something that we're kind of like we're picking up on a subconscious level, but we may not know exactly what's causing that feeling. There's also a kind of sense of being in a bubble here as well. And the Piscean full moon can be that kind of energy of kind of feeling as though you're kind of out of it in some way. You're kind of like on a different plane of existence, or on a different level. You're not quite grounded. You're not quite in the now moment. So there could be this sense of being in this kind of emotional bubble. But it's covered, interestingly, by the King of Air, which is a complete different energy to this energy here. The King of Air is much more to do with the mind, the thinking, the thoughts. There's also a sense here, not so much of despair, I don't feel. I don't think it's despair, but there's a sense here of kind of being, it just feels like overwhelmed. A sense of something overwhelming. And the King is kind of saying to me that it's, because it's the King, it's a very mature energy. So it's an energy of intellectual understanding of something, of knowledge, of the mind. But it's mature. There's a maturity about it, whereas I don't feel that there's a maturity so much with this card here. But the King here, it's like jumping from the emotions to the head and back again. It's like almost like logic, and this comes through a lot in the readings actually, this kind of emotional versus logic energy. Like, don't get dragged down or sucked in by the emotional energy at this time. Don't get caught up in other people's emotional issues and problems. Like, think logically, analyze, be very analytical, which is quite Virgo energy, in fact, where the sun is at this time. So the sun is kind of shining his light on the moon energy, which is, I feel, this kind of Piscean, awash with kind of emotional I'm getting the word misunderstandings, but I don't know if that's true. There's also this feather which is really kind of sticking out for me here, and I often see the feather as being kind of like mightier than the sword. It's that, you know, that sense of the pen is mightier than the sword, and pens were originally made from feathers. So there's a message here about writing, communication, and not getting kind of sucked in with the emotional side of things, like words. There's a big thing about words at this time anyway, because Mars is in Gemini. So he's activating all of that area of the sky in our charts of kind of communication, language, media, all of that kind of thing. And that's coming through here with this emotional kind of Piscean full moon. There's a lot of Piscean energy on the table. There's a lot of water. This moon is it feels like it's very powerful. So it's kind of, yeah, the king is kind of saying be discerning with what you hear, what you read, and be aware of the emotions behind your own words as well. The power of the words, of the emotions. But also there's this sense of don't get sucked in. Don't get sucked into something that isn't necessarily as it appears. So in our head, what we're aware of is the Page of Cups here, the Page of Water. And this is, for me, always comes through as this kind of energy of like playfulness, but also self-discovery, discovering yourself. There's also an element here of kind of, because I always think that this character always looks like as though they're dressing up in something that isn't right for them. It's like they've been in the dressing up box and they've come out and what they're wearing isn't actually, it's almost like trying to be something else. But this is a young energy, this is a child energy, a young playful energy, but also an energy that's learning and growing, learning about itself. And of course we are all in that kind of state as well, of learning about ourselves constantly. There's always something that's being revealed to us that we may thought that we kind of like, you know, had it all sorted out and we knew who we were, what we were doing, where we were going, and then kind of something pops up out of the blue, a part of our personality or something from our past maybe that we've completely forgotten about. And that's another interesting thing there, because this card is kind of leading into that energy of something from the past. The Six of Cups, Six of Water, talks about the past and kind of reflecting and reevaluating. Mercury has just gone retrograde as well. So Mercury's just gone retrograde, and he's just gone retrograde in the house of Libra, the scales, the balance, although I don't necessarily see that as that energy, but so yeah, there's a kind of sense of some kind of form of healing. Of healing parts of ourselves that we may have not recognized as being ignored or undervalued is also what's coming through here as well. But there's also kind of a tension. It's kind of like trying to grab our attention. But this is what's in our head, so it feels like it's a part of ourselves that is trying to make ourselves aware of the subconscious side of ourselves, possibly the deeper, because I'm seeing, if you see here with this Six of Cups, if I turn it up the other way, you can see that reflected in the water there is this young child, which is a reflection of her own inner child. She's sitting there and she's clutching her stomach, and she's kind of in some ways despair, sorrow, sadness, maybe also hopeful, kind of like a sense of, if I'd have done something differently, would I be where I am now? If I'd behaved differently, if I'd taken a different path, who would I have become? That kind of energy, because it is reflective, and I'm seeing it as this energy here reflected in the water down here. So there's a sense of kind of, well, with Mercury going retrograde, there is this sense of going back over situations. And Mercury starts off retrograde in Libra, and Libra is the 7th house of relationships, partnerships. And the biggest partnership or relationship that we have is with ourselves. So it feels like this outpouring of healing towards our inner child. Inner child who maybe wasn't allowed to be who they were meant to be, and they ended up becoming something that they're not overly pleased with or happy about. So this is as a collective energy. So in the subconscious, in the root of what we are not aware of as of yet, because it hasn't risen up into the conscious awareness, we have the card of Justice. And she is carrying this flaming sword, which is that sword of truth, which is used to cut through all the BS and all the kind of entanglement, is what I'm getting here. All the entanglement of situations and things that have led us to where we are. To actually see things more clearly, because she's also she holds the scales in her hand. So that, of course, is about balance. In Egyptian, if we go back to the Egyptian belief, the heart would have been weighed on the scales against a feather. So there's this kind of sense of like karmic, it's a big karmic energy. There's a karmic, underlying karmic, working through our karma with ourselves, with those around us, but particularly ourselves. It's like the Justice card for me today is saying that this is all about our own personal way of dealing with situations and people in our lives, but there's also like a link with the past as well. Like it could even be with past lives as well here. Things could be like also generational energy here as well. Working through, cutting out. But also being aware as well on some level that every action that we take leads to the next action, which leads to, even if we don't see that action until much further down the road in our lives, it's like something could happen that comes back around on a karmic level. And if you put that into the collective story, then we're all kind of connected to our choices is what's coming through. We're all connected to our choices. And that's where the weighing of the scale comes up. Are we coming through in that lower vibration or that higher vibration of something? When we make a choice, do we choose it from that lower vibrational energy of fear of something? Or do we choose it from that higher vibrational energy of love? Also, when we're in a lower vibrational energy of fear, we can often make those choices not for ourselves, but for somebody else or for others, or we can be forced into making choices that aren't necessarily, which brings me back to this energy here as well, that haven't necessarily been for our own betterment. Even though at the time we may have felt that we were doing the right thing, it doesn't mean that it was the wrong thing. It just means that it didn't necessarily help us. That's not quite what I want to say there either. There's something more than that. There's something deeper. That making choices for others is not our path. We can only make a choice for ourselves, is what I want to say there. So, the energy moving in is the Ace of Water, the Ace of Cups. Beautiful energy. New love, new beginnings, new spiritual awareness, opening. The seahorse here is interesting as well, because the seahorse, of course, is one of the only animals that really takes care of its young as well. And of course it can also be either male or female, the seahorse. So I was just going to look that up, and I've remembered that I haven't actually got the book out for that, so I'm just going to look up seahorse. Might do that in a bit. I'm going to do the rest of the reading first. So there is this whole new energy, this whole new emotional, it's like something is being cleared on an emotional level, and this could also be connected on some level to everything that has just happened with the passing of the Queen, because that in itself has been this kind of holding pattern, if you like, keeping things as they have always been since she took the throne in the 20s, was it? 50s? Can't remember exactly. I know it was 70 years ago, so a long time, a long period of history that the Queen has been, and for most of us in our lives, she's always been there. And it kind of feels as though that energy, I mean, the fact that she passed over a couple of days before this Piscean full moon is quite interesting as well, and the fact that Charles, when he took his proclamation, or when the proclamation was made this morning, it actually happened bang on the full moon, the time of the full moon. It was almost too perfect to be true. 10:59 was when he was proclaimed king. So that in itself is an interesting coincidence, I suppose, or pattern of events, cycle of events as well. But it could also mean that there is this new, something has been released, something is being let go, something. So on a universal scale of collective energy, it's like something has shifted to allow something new to come into our lives energetically. So this is on an energetic level. And after the Ace of Water, which is coming in, we have, which is probably one of my favourite cards in this deck, the Eight of Pentacles. And I always see this, or the Eight of Earth, I always see this card as progress, like something still in progress, like, but I see it as us. This is us, this is the collective we, still in flux, still in progress, still, we are a work in progress, is what I'm being told. We are that work in progress, and we are working on ourselves, whether we know it or not, whether we're aware of it or not. The choices that we are making make the difference. And it's like we've reached a certain point collectively, like evolutionary, like working through lifetimes after lifetimes after lifetimes of working on what we are becoming, and we're still doing it. It's like it's never ending. It's like, because I love to see this violin here. Okay, it's like the clay, the moulding of the clay. It's like it's still being moulded, but here, I mean, it's the wood, it's the tree. It's like it's you can see the violin, but it's showing you kind of what it's been made from. It's been made from another form entirely. So it started out as a tree, and it's become this incredible instrument, or it's becoming this incredible instrument, which can be, and it's also, I see these here as well as being kind of elements outside of ourselves, is how it's coming through today. Possibly even the planets themselves. I've never seen that before, but that's how it's coming through. And the effect that they have on us, creating who we are as individuals, but also as collective energies that we all go through on a collective scale. Because some planets affect us long term and some planets affect us much quicker. So I think that's what I want to say about that card at this time. And then the Five of Fire is in our place of the collective energy, and this card feels, I always see this card as the card of kind of a despair, a kind of despairing energy, which the full moon in Pisces can also bring. Pisces energy can be despair or despondency, or a feeling of a victimhood, like what's the point? Like waiting for a saviour, waiting for somebody to turn up and kind of fix everything for us. But again, it's coming back to this energy of we have to do that for ourselves. It's like reaching a certain point, not just a point of no return, but also a certain point of maturity, of moving forward, evolutionary, because we have been here so many times that we are spiritually evolving and growing. And as we're moving on forward, we can't take this energy, this past energy, with us into this new sense of the new beginning, the new emotional connections. is also what I'm seeing here. So in between that we have the messenger of air as well. So this is in our hopes and our fears, and I always see her as somebody who's just waking up. So the messenger of air is the knight of air, and it's in our hopes and fears. And often the Knight of Air is an energy of very fast moving, quick action, things happening very suddenly, out of the blue type of energy. Like with the Knight of Air, often like when his mind is made up, that's it, he just moves on, he's not sentimental. Unlike this energy here, there's no sentimentality with the Knight of Air. It's like mind is made up, time to let go of that, time to move on. But with this particular card, in itself, there seems to be a kind of awakening. What is coming through for me is this kind of awakening from this kind of deep sense of hypnosis, in a way, of this deep sleep, kind of just coming out, just kind of waking up to the reality of things, the truth of things. And there's a sense here of like, do I just want to go back to sleep and kind of just ignore? But there's also a sense here as well that once you have kind of opened your eyes to the reality and to the truth of what is being revealed at this time, and there's a lot that is being revealed at this time as well, which I also want to say about this King of Air here as well, that there is a lot that is being revealed, but there's also a lot that is also not necessarily as we believe it to be, or as it appears to be. So there is this need for this discerning energy, and the discerning energy is the logical process of the mind. But the mind can also play tricks on us as well. So then maybe we also need to bring in this energy of like whether it feels right to us or not. Does it resonate for us? Does it feel good? Does it feel like the truth? But we also have, as I was saying, this 5 of fire down here. And then the very last card we have here is the 6 of fire, which is the only card on the table that is in reverse. So that's really interesting. And how this came through was this sense of despair here. And the 6 of fire is usually about victory, feeling on top of things, feeling victorious. But because we've got this sense of despair, this collective despair of kind of almost like giving up, not believing that it's possible to change things, maybe, for things to ever be any different, then there's this sense of being, and I think that kind of comes back to this energy here as well, this kind of sense of being dragged under or sinking feeling, or just too overwhelmed, like it's all too much. So we can't rise above it. We're not allowing ourselves to rise above into that sense of victory. It's like we're still waiting for that victory. but we need to stop waiting for somebody else to do it for us, is kind of what's coming through here. Time to stop waiting for somebody else to do it for us and realise that we really can only ever be our own saviour in that respect. And also to make the right choices for the right reasons is also what's come through there. So interestingly, there is definitely something new coming through here. New love, new starts, new beginnings. The Ace of Cups coming out twice is quite powerful. A new energy of, it feels like that divine love, because if you look, that it's coming through from that eye in the sky. And interesting, it's also got the phases of the moon here as well. So it does feel like this sense of something, yeah, like I was saying, something new coming in, new higher spiritual connection. And also a sense of filling up our own cup as well, filling up our own cup to be happy for ourselves, because only then can we also share it with other people. So we have the King of Wands and we have the Devil come out together, and the King of Wands is in reverse. And so this, I mean, this is fire. This is a lot of fire energy here. King of Wands, when he's in reverse, it is an energy of lack of confidence. Can also be argumentative. It relates to the energies of the fire signs. So we're talking Mars, Sagittarius and Leo. And they are all ruled by kind of fiery, like Mars. Aries is ruled by Mars. Leo is ruled by the Sun. And this is over the top of this page of water here as well. So very headstrong energy, King of Wands is what I'm getting here. Very headstrong, an energy of might is right, especially with the Devil energy here as well. But I'm seeing this as a kind of combination of how can I put it? It's really fiery. I'm just getting this real sense of kind of fire, and like even behind his throne it's all kind of set on fire, it's all ablaze. So I think what this is kind of saying is that we need to be careful at this time of being the Devil can be like a trickster energy. The Devil can be fear, being ruled by fear. But the devil is also the shadow side of ourselves that we need to look at, we need to work with. There's a sense of having to kind of break free. Again, that sense of breaking free or moving on from something. But there's a lot of fire energy. It just seems so... so like hot. And but there's also a sense here, because this is to do with innocence as well, as I was saying earlier. This kind of page of water is playful, kind of childlike, innocent energy, and this is the real opposite. I mean, this is kind of like the devil and the King of Wands in reverse. It's kind of coming through as this real kind of lustful, domineering, really like just wants to destroy, is what I'm getting. Just wants to destroy all of this playful innocence, like childlike innocence. It just wants to burn it up. It's also like there's a sense of distaste here on this side, like a distaste for anything that's pure and innocent. And I'm not just saying that, like, you know, this is the fire sign energy, but that's just how it's coming through, is this sense of kind of wanting to kind of destroy. Destroy. Yeah, this feeling of like it doesn't matter how it's done, just as long as it's done. And we have two more interesting cards here, the Three of Swords and the Four of Pentacles. And this is over the Six of Water, the card of kind of reflective energy, and the child, again, that inner child energy here. So Three of Swords is pain. It's heartbreak. It's trauma. It's feeling things deeply. It can be betrayal. It can feel as though literally like having your heart ripped out and stomped on. And the Four of Pentacles is coming through like a sense of like still hanging on to this kind of energy. Like there is this Four of Pentacles doesn't want to let go, doesn't want to leave things behind. It wants to hold on to what it has because it doesn't have enough trust or belief or faith that there is more, that there can be a sense of moving past this. It feels like collective trauma. And it's also coming through with these cards as well here, like a lot of childhoods, a lot of children, a lot of, yeah, is what I'm getting, this sense of like a lot of ruined childhoods or abusive childhoods. There's a lot of sexual, lustful energy in both of these cards. Both of these cards. And it's to do with childhood. And it's to do with innocence. And it's to do with loss of. And it's to do with once that kind of trauma takes place, it's very hard to move past it. Move beyond it, move into, especially hard to move into something like that energy, like a pure sense of compassion and divine love. So interesting turn of cards. Going down a path that I wasn't expecting it to go down at all. And the Page of Wands over the top of the Justice card here as well. Again, another page, innocence. Children, creative projects. But there's a sense with this Justice card, with this, I'm really drawn to this flaming sword here, being the kind of element of truth in all of this. Looking for the truth in it. The Page of Wands is an energy that can be, if you think of it like a small flame, it can be very easily stamped out. A small flame needs more. It needs tendering, like fed. Basically, if you're trying to build a fire and it starts with a small flame, you want to kind of build on top of that to turn it into a fire that has got maturity about it, that's going to keep you warm. And but the page is that kind of small flame. It starts off very small, and again this kind of sense of innocent energy that has this kind of inspiration is the word I'm getting here, like there's something inspiring, something like enthusiasm, this sense of enthusiasm, this sense of kind of like wanting to go out into the world and explore and to find things and to learn from things. But it's that energy that, because it's a young, enthusiastic flame, so to speak, say like a small business that just starts up, but it can easily be stamped out. So it needs to be tended and needs to be taken care of, is what I'm getting here. But there also is a connection here karmically. And it could be related to this idea of the truth as well, and the balancing of the scales. Again, coming from the right place, doing the right thing. Every action leading to another action. There's also a sense here of kind of, feels like he's bringing this wand to her, but that wand isn't burning. It's not like the king's wand here is burning, even though the king's in reverse. His wand is burning, it's on fire. He's learned, he's grown, he's got this blazing, I'm going to say kind of aura around him, but this wand here is still yet to be lit. It's still yet to be fired up in a way. But it's like he's bringing it. He's walking towards her is how I'm seeing it. It's like he's bringing it towards her. And I'm still seeing this here. It's like she's going to light it up with the truth. It's like the truth is going to be lit up. It's going to be on fire. And it's not going to be able to hide. Is also what I'm getting from that as well. So let's see what else we get here. Ace of water, the ace of water, ace of cups. Why is it here? Remember, we've got it twice as well, so it's a powerful energy that's coming in. So the ace of water is covered by the sun, but the sun is in reverse. But the sun is a card of it is the divine masculine energy. It's the card of bringing in the light, of seeing things clearly, of optimism, joy. Even when it's in reverse, it's like it feels like it's waiting. It feels like it's waiting. It feels like it's waiting to rise, if you like it's under the horizon, or it's in the lower again, it kind of feels like the lower subconscious realm somehow. I mean, at the moment the sun is in Virgo and it is literally lighting up this full moon. I mean, you've got all those planets there as well, and the whole solar system, and it kind of, on some level, it's reminding me of this energy here as well. And I'm also getting something about chakras here as well. Like it's rising, like something is rising. Maybe it's rising through the chakras into the heart. It's kind of how it feels, like something is rising out of the depths, up into the heart chakra, which is the love energy here. It's not quite ready, it's not quite, but it's like it's in waiting. And again, kind of divine timing. Divine timing, waiting for the right time, for the divine time, because we are moving out of the age of Pisces and into the age of Aquarius. And it's like that a lot of us are very kind of, we've been aware of it for a long time, so we've been waiting, it feels like forever. And so there is this part of us that's kind of like, now, when's it going to happen? Is it going to happen now? Is it going to happen now? Kind of energy. So there is this sense, it feels like a sense of kind of having to prepare maybe for this to light up, to rise up and light up. The collective heart, and maybe that's also got something to do with this wands here as well, this kind of lighting up. Seems to be a bit of a theme here, lighting things up. Whereas this seems to be, I would say, more chaotic. What other words do I want to use for this? Chaotic and it's like demanding energy. There's definite trauma in that energy. Whereas this kind of feels like the healing that's taking place, but it's not. The sun isn't quite ready to reveal itself, or, and I'm not literally meaning the sun in the sky, but the kind of the how can I put it? It's like a sense of awakening. Awakening, and it's like once it kind of catches fire, it's just going to spread, is how it feels. It's going to spread very quickly throughout. The collective energy. But it may take a while because the sun is in reverse. And the sun is a major arcana card as well. So all the major arcana cards are longer lasting energies. Talking of major arcana cards, we have the Judgment card over the top of this Eight of Earth. And that's, I think there's a connection, well, there is a connection here. There's a connection with the, as I was talking about this one, this card here of us being like, still being created, still evolving. And this is what this Judgment card is saying to me here as well, because if you look here, it's about calling up the dead to rise, to let go, to release, which is this energy over here as well. Because this card is saying that, you know, we've been holding on to a lot ancestrally, generationally, karmically for a long time. And the Judgment card is kind of saying, you know, are you hearing that call? Are you listening to the calling of, and again, I get the sense of, like, you know, the planets, the solar system, we've got it there again as well. As I was saying, I felt like there was a connection between those two. And there's also a sense of moving into this kind of higher vibrational energy, like the lower vibrational energy is being possibly even kind of burnt through somehow. Or a sense of almost like destroying itself as well is what I'm getting here. A sense of destroying itself. This lower, more base kind of destructive energy that wants to destroy innocence and children and life in general. And this is about rising up into that higher vibrational energy in order to be able to become that instrument. And there's that instrument there as well. So it's kind of becoming that instrument itself by rising or raising the vibrational frequency, the resonancy of the planet itself. Is also what I'm getting here. As we all rise in vibration, so does the planet itself. And so does the solar system, so does the universe. It's like it's a never-ending kind of story that literally we are a major part of, even though we don't necessarily feel that or understand it. We are a major part of it, is what I'm being told here. We are a major key component of the raising of the vibration of not only the planet and the earth itself, but also the solar system. And because everything's connected, it works beyond that. It's like it's like quite unimaginable. It's like how far out it all goes and how it's all connected, and how not only does it work, as I was saying with this, okay, so not only does it work one way, not only does it work coming in, like as I was saying, the violin starting off as that piece of wood and then becoming like this instrument. So not only does it work that way, but it also works the other way, so it also works outwardly. So the energies come in, and we, as we raise our vibration and go through this transformation and this transition and this transcending time that we're in, actually help with the process on a much higher level, is what I'm being told there. So that was quite interesting. And that's also got something to do with this sun in hiding as well, in the sense of that until we're ready, until we make that shift, this energy here, it's like it's waiting for that shift to occur. And I do want to say that it feels like a shift into a completely different dimension on many, many levels. Like, yeah. Like, it's something that can happen so quickly that it's almost like it's unnoticeable, and yet at the same time very apparent, is kind of how I'm feeling it or seeing it. So the Five of Fire and the Hierophant together, another major arcana energy here. So the Hierophant, often seen as a kind of patriarchal system, patriarchal energy, and it's with this card of despair, as I was talking about there. But I'm kind of seeing it as this traditional traditional kind of sense of, I don't want to use the words buying into something, but it's almost like it's led us to this place where it doesn't feed us, is kind of how I'm seeing it. It's not, it doesn't stop the despair, or it's like this is very much to do with religion and churches, and it's like it's very dogmatic is what I'm being given, very dogmatic and lacking in spirituality is what I'm being told here to say. So sometimes I don't want to say these things, but it's dogmatic, it lacks spirituality, it lacks the new, it lacks that, and yet it still has a strong hold and people still turn to this energy. There's still, people are still looking for answers, they're still looking for a saviour, which is what I was saying about this card earlier, that sense of looking for a saviour, wanting somebody to come and save us. And this is kind of saying that it's not to be found here, it's to be found within. Again, it's that kind of, that's the kind of theme that seems to be coming through. Within, but to get there, first of all, we've got to go through some painful situations and releasing karmic, again, generational, past lifetime, that kind of energy. But there's also a sense of this energy kind of doubling down in a way. But there's also feeling that the more people look towards this energy, the more people look towards churches and religion and priests and all that traditional written word, the less they're finding sustenance, is what I keep being told. Sustenance, the less they're finding sustenance. And it comes out like that as well, which is interesting. So there's actually a sense of walking, it's walking away. Like it's got its back turned to her, or this person here has got his back turned to her. So it's almost like the answers are not to be found there. Nope, not taking all of them. So, the messenger of air in our hopes and fears. Why is the messenger of air in our hopes and our fears at this time? Messenger of air. Messenger of air, of course, air is also Mercury. Mercury, like I was saying, has stationed. So all of that energy is highly magnified at this time. Communication, language, words, how we speak to ourselves, how we speak to others. 3 cards again. I wasn't going to take 3 cards, but they come out again. Okay, so 5 of Pentacles, the Magician, and the 4 of Wands. And our hopes and our fears with the messenger of air. And that energy, as I was saying, was this kind of sense of waking up from the deep sense of slumber, hypnosis, kind of like having been in this kind of dream world, if you like, for so long. And that can be very Piscean energy, and we are in the age of Pisces, so it is like we've been asleep for centuries and now we're kind of waking up, and it's like we've been lulled into this kind of sense of beliefs as well, because the Hierophant is also about our belief systems. So anyway, coming back to the messenger of air with the 5 of Pentacles in reverse. There is this sense of kind of loss or worry or fear of being kind of left out in the cold on our own. The 5 of Pentacles talks of like not having support. And this could be, again, to do with resources, because it's Pentacles. Resources such as being able to pay the bills, keep the house, all those kind of things. But then we have the Magician energy here. And the Magician energy is literally that kind of energy of Zadkiel in many ways, and I was kind of feeling that as I was reading it, that Zadkiel energy of believing in yourself and abundance and being able to manifest, because this is the manifesting energy. The King of Wands is also manifesting energy as well, but he's in reverse, so what he's manifesting is not very pleasant, because the devil energy there is the other side of I suppose of the magician energy in some ways, the devil energy. It's like all of the worst aspects. But it's also coming through with a kind of strong, again, this kind of strong Mars energy is what I'm picking up here. It's strong Mars in Gemini energy of kind of communication, words, things being revealed, or things kind of getting out of hand very quickly. But coming back to the magician, because this is just in our hopes and our fears, but that is important, because our hopes and our fears talk about, we either put our attention onto our hopes and what we are wanting to manifest, or we put our attention onto our fears of what we don't want to manifest. But the way that the universe works is that where we put our attention is what we're going to get. So basically it starts off with a thought, which is the messenger of air energy, that thought, that spark of thinking. It's also the king of air energy as well, and I'm kind of getting the sense of like, control your thoughts with this as well, and possibly that's also got something to do with not getting sucked into the emotions of something, as I was saying earlier. Control your thoughts and come from that sense of love as well. So come from a place of hope and belief is also what's coming through there. So as I was saying, the hopes and the fears, so wherever we place our attention and our thoughts is what we see manifest in our life. And if we're all out there putting our thoughts into these kind of worries and stresses, which is exactly where they want us to put our thoughts, because they are well aware of how it works and have been for a long time, that if they can do this on a huge scale, again, then it's much easier to kind of want to be taken care of. It's much easier for them to provide the supposed answer to all our problems, to all our prayers, so to speak. And so it starts with a thought which gets fed by, you know, the creative drive of something. It's like the thought's there and then you kind of like run with it. It's like, where's that going to take me? If I do this, where's it going to go? And then the emotions kick in as well. So the emotions feed it. And then you see it with the pentacle down here. You see it, or we see it turn up in the physical realm, because that's the physical dimension that our thoughts create and come into. It comes into the 3D physical realm. And that's kind of what I'm seeing here with this. It's kind of, this one is lit up. So there's this sense of kind of, even though there's all this despair, we need to be very discerning as to where we place our thoughts. Because the Four of Wands is also about, it's in reverse, but it is also about stability and kind of building something long lasting and creating something that's going to be pleasurable, enjoyable. But again, not when it's in reverse. So when our thoughts kind of run away with us, because we're coming from that place of lower vibrational fear, and it's easy to feed the fear. It's a lot harder to feed the hope. Because we've come from centuries of difficult times. Our families, our parents, grandparents. You think about the history and where we've all come from. There's been a lot of, I would say, this kind of energy in many ways. A lot of wars and destruction, destroying innocence. Controlling from a young age. So the Six of Fire, Six of Wands, in reverse, the upside down sense of victory or being seen or feeling on top of things, feeling on top of the world, feeling like we've got things working for us rather than working against us. When the Six of Fire is in reverse, it feels kind of deflationary with this balloon here. It's like it's deflated, it's like it's just dropping kind of like a stone. I always see that energy as. And it goes back to that sense of as well, because I'm just looking at these little balloons all around it, and it's like, you know, the satellites, it's like we are those satellites as well. And people around us are also those satellites. So what they feed into us and what we allow ourselves to be fed on an energetic level is going to affect our belief in ourselves, I want to say here. Whether we have the ability to rise above something and be victorious, come out on top. We have the Two of Wands in reverse and we have the Seven of Cups. So the Two of Wands is feeling like a sense of confusion in reverse, because there's these two rods there and two paths, and there is this big dividing energy that is happening at this time. And it also feels like an energy of not being able to make a decision about things at this time as well, because the Seven of Cups is saying that, you know, if you look at each of those cups as future potentials for what we are hoping to create or to have in our lives, there's this sense here of standing at a crossroads, literally standing at the crossroads, but because it's in reverse, there's this sense of not being able to move forward. And not knowing what's coming, not knowing, it's like not standing on shaky ground, not knowing what the future holds. As there's lots of different, yeah, as I was saying, lots of different potentials here. Lots of different potentials. And again, it's about where you focus the attention. And it's kind of saying, again, with these two paths, that there is only two options. There is only hope or fear. Or love and fear. And love being the major theme that is kind of running through this reading in many ways for us to tap into. So that's what I feel that it's saying there. Again, it comes back to us. It comes back to which path do you want to go down. There's that sense of, yeah, of kind of being stuck here at a crossroads. Stuck at the crossroads. The crossroads full of potential, but it is down to us. Again, it comes back to that idea of the magician, and of course the magician also has that cup there as well, which we've got twice here. The cup, the emotions, the feelings. Which also in many ways comes down to our self-worth as well. Which can also be to do with the Seven of Cups. The Seven of Cups, our self-worth will decide where we're going, which path we're heading down. Because of what we believe we deserve at the end of it. And again, that kind of takes me back to the kind of Three of Swords and the Four of Pentacles, holding on to the past, the trauma, needing to let it go. But first of all, having to be kind of aware of it and work through it before we can get there. So let's, just going to have to disappear for 2 minutes because Mercury retrograde, I forgot to bring the books that I need. So I'm very sorry, I will return very quickly with what I need here. Sorry about that. I hope you haven't switched off. I hope you haven't done. God, she's lunatic. I'm not watching any more of her. So first of all, we'll do a Keepers of Light card, and we'll finish it off with, and we have Jesus, Master Jesus, forgiveness. And it says, you are on the path of light, love and forgiveness. Father healing is possible at this time. That's interesting, because I was talking about the patriarchy a bit here as well. Patriarchy is also the father figure, the father figurehead. And of course we are going to be having a king now rather than a queen as well, so that's an interesting card for that reason as well. So Master Jesus, he did come out in reverse as well, so the reverse reading of these cards means that it's of higher relevance and importance, so take notice of it. So I'll read the rest of it first, and it says, a man who needs no introduction, though both the Gospels and the Gnostic Gospels we have come to know, through both the Gospels and the Gnostic Gospels we have come to know Jesus as a great teacher, loving guide and generous soul who accepts us all. Although he is the focal point of Christianity, he will respond to anyone who reaches out to him. He helps us overcome sacrificial love when we have to leave behind something in order to get the love we want. He is also the light keeper we can call on for support with forgiveness. Try and get it out of that glare. He reminds us that our connection to love is the most important connection we will ever create. His twin flame is Mary Magdalene. And so the extended message is, forgiveness is an act of self-love. You are being encouraged to know that whatever you have done to yourself or others, the divine is not condemning you. You don't have to forget what has happened, but you no longer need to allow your whole story to be defined by a situation that doesn't support your happiness. Jesus is here to bring miraculous shifts of healing to you and all those around you, and to release you from the burden of self-loathing. He wants you to know that he sees the child of God within you. He also brings clarity and healing to any situations concerning your Father, either on earth or in heaven. So that kind of sums up a lot of, I think, what I was saying earlier. And kind of brings it all together, which is really beautiful. And lastly, I want to do in fact, I might not pull a card for the Spirit Animal Oracle. I'm going to read the Seahorse because I would like to see, no pun intended, what the Seahorse wants to say, because it came out as the Ace of Cups, and I'm fascinated by what its meaning is. So, Seahorse, where are we? Seahorse Spirit, 53, 157. There we go. Watch and wait. Hovering gracefully, the seahorse observes with the perspective of one who is not engulfed by the drama, remaining at a distance from all the turbulence. Seahorse Spirit appears at this time to remind you of the need to be neutral and gain perspective. Your message from Seahorse Spirit is, not my circus, not my monkeys. Spirit wants you to know that even if you are tempted to jump into the fray and try to fix things, the best way to serve yourself and others right now is to remain calm and simply watch and see. Which is interesting, because there was something I was saying about how I felt this was being held back. How the sun was kind of being held back, but not the sun. Yeah. So anyway, another message here is that whatever your query, Seahorse Spirit asks you to step back from it. Be willing to explore things from different angles rather than a single one, and just observe what is possible. From the perspective of the position of the neutral observer, you will discover a myriad of opportunities and a deeper understanding of what you seek and why. And I was just thinking then of this card here, as I was saying, potentials or opportunities. A deeper understanding of what you seek and why, and you will know beauty, truth, love, and wisdom. There was something about that seahorse, and I really felt that I had to find out exactly what it was trying to express here. So pretty powerful stuff, and I hope that you've enjoyed the reading. I've enjoyed doing it. It was quite a powerful reading for me today. Yeah, felt quite strongly connected to things. So or to my guides, should I say. Things. Probably don't like being called things, but yeah, so that's the energies that I have for this full moon in Pisces reading. I hope, like I say, you have enjoyed it. If you have, please could you thumbs it up for me, because it always helps when somebody presses that little thumb to let the channel itself know that there is interaction and people are actually taking notice of what I'm putting out there. And thank you very much to those of you who have done that and do it on a regular basis. I really do appreciate it. And thank you also to those of you who have subscribed to my channel recently. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please could you do so as well, because that really helps me to grow my channel, and again helps the platform here know that people are interested in what I have to say. My messages are maybe a little bit kind of different, not necessarily what you're used to hearing, but I think it's really relevant for the times that we're in, so I'm going to keep putting them out there and hoping that it will get picked up on and people will start to take more interest in my channel and actually help me to grow my channel as well. So thank you very much to those of you who share my messages as well. Again, there's a full playlist for those of you who are interested in finding out anything about your own sun sign, moon sign, Venus sign. There's no times or dates on my readings, just titles. So if something resonates with you, if you feel that that's your reading for the time that you're in, the situation that you're going through, then take it as your reading. And also for those of you who wish to leave me a comment down below, that would also be really appreciated, just so that again the platform knows that we are having interaction here. And also I will get back to you. As I said, I don't always get to know when people leave me messages. It's only when I go back and have a look that I actually find messages have been left as well. So if I don't get back to you immediately, I'm not being rude. It literally means that I haven't had any notifications. So that's another problem that I have. Anyway, all that being said, thank you again. I hope you have a wonderful full moon in Pisces, which is going to last over these next 2 weeks, up to the new moon in Libra, which is quite phenomenal. Can't believe that we're that far through the year already. So yeah, take really good care of yourselves at this time and anybody else around you who you can. And hopefully I will see you all again soon.